What is going on, YouTube people? I promised one more red alert, and here we sit. A much anticipated, much rumored thing has finally happened. PSA is entering the comic book grading space. That is right. This has been kind of whispered in the corners around for a while now, but here it is finally happening. I have known about this for a decent amount of time now. I am finally glad to be able to talk about this without accidentally saying something that I shouldn't. Now, they're announcing this now. They will not actually begin accepting submissions until 2025. So there is going to be a little bit of a lead up, a little bit of a ramp time on this. You can see what the label looks like on the screen there. Traditional PSA label, I am sure some people will love that. Some people will hate that. Also, the grading scale will be the traditional grading scale that we are all used to. See, I almost defaulted to CGC 9.8, but the 9.8, 9.9, 10, 9.6, so on and so forth down the line. They will also be offering pressing services. That's right. PSA will press your books for you just like CGC will. Just an interesting dynamic there, given all the talk that has been in the hobby this year in the card cleaning nature of things and cleaning cards and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable and all that nonsense. That on the comic book side, where this stuff is accepted, they are rolling with that. The other angle on here, and I think one that they will potentially get a decent chunk of business in, is the magazine category. CGC's magazine case is notoriously not good. And I have heard that this PSA case, I have not had hands-on one yet, but I will be getting my hands-on one hopefully very soon. That this new PSA case is very, very solid. It feels really, really good in hand. And the CGC magazine case just does not do that. But I could see this becoming the go-to for Sports Illustrated, Rolling Stones, those sorts of magazines that get out there, Sports Illustrated specifically, that, people just might associate more with PSA. If you're a Sports Illustrated collector, your natural inclination to grade something like that, as of right now, the only real option is CGC, but you might lean more towards PSA for that, just given the more sports-like nature of things. Now, the interesting angle here is in the card world, PSA absolutely dwarfs everybody else. They just absolutely crush everybody. They are the dominant player in that industry. In the comic book world, CGC is PSA. They are the dominant player. Beckett, aka CBCS, is second place, but it is so far behind, it isn't even on the same page. It'd be like in cards comparing PSA to Tag or HGA or one of the smaller pop-up grading companies. The distance between those two is massive. In the card world, there is competition out there. PSA has a lead, but it's not, it's not as crazy as in the comic book side of things. So now PSA is going to be the underdog in a category. They are not going to be the dominant force out of the gate in the comic book industry. And it is something, to be quite frank, that the comic book side has needed for a while. CGC has basically had free run. They have had a string to close out 2023 and enter 2024. They have had massive issue after massive issue after massive issue. And you see people online in the comment sections, etc., begging for CBCS to step up. Somebody, please hold these guys accountable. Give us some competition. And it just does not exist. Beckett, we all know on the card side of things, is just not well positioned to be a nimble company and react to this sort of stuff and take advantage of it. And quite frankly, they had things wide open at the end of this year to jump on it, and they just weren't able to do it. They don't have the customer service support. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the capabilities to handle a bunch of books incoming. So CGC remains the only place you could really use if you want to get comic books graded and sell on the secondary market. So from this perspective, even if you are the most loyal CGC person ever, even if you don't care to ever grade a comic book with PSA ever, you never going to use them, you don't want to use them, you think they're the devil incarnate, just the fact that they exist and they are entering this space is a win for everybody. They are the only company in the space that could potentially keep CGC honest. Even if they don't match them comp for comp or anything like that, because of the size, the infrastructure, the way that PSA, including very recently, has kind of embedded themselves into all these other companies, all the partnerships that they have, the size and focus of the company itself, they have the capability for CGC to be like, all right, we have to at least take them semi-seriously. We can't just do whatever we want with pricing. We have to have better security on our slabs. We have to take this stuff. We have to be more on top of our game than we ever have been, because they are a legit threat. Now, it's going to take them a while. You know, they're launching in 2025. They said they won't have a pop report out of the gates. It's going to take them time to get their legs under them. I'm sure there'll be mistakes. I'm sure there'll be screw-ups. But the fact that they are lurking out there and the power that they have in the collectibles world will help keep CGC honest, will keep them looking over their shoulder, will force them to improve. Now, can PSA carve out a space? Can they rival them? That's yet to be determined. That is yet to be determined. That is the part that we will not know, and we will not know it for a little bit. It'll take potentially years for this to play itself. My content brothers in arms on the comic book side, welcome to the grading wars. You now get to make all the grading wars content that you kind of could before, but let's be honest, CBCS wasn't a major player. Well, I formally welcome you to the front lines of the grading wars. I am sure we will hear a lot more about this at San Diego Comic-Con next week. We will get more details on the slab and all that sorts of stuff. I was curious to see them stick with the traditional grading scale. I am not surprised by that. There is so much ingrained into that space. You know, do you really want to shake up the apple cart that much by coming out with a brand new grading scale that's different from everything else? I know it's something that they did think about, but I think going with the traditional is probably the smartest way to go to get your stuff adopted. You know, you want to get people using the service and get slabs out into the market, and the easiest way to do that is just kind of fall in with the industry standard with a 9.8 as your primary grade, you know, and then you have the 9.9 and the 10.0 above that, and then the grading scale below that. The other thing PSA will have is they automatically already have the PSA DNA off team. So like CGC just partnered with JSA, PSA is already a market leader in aftermarket autos. So in regards to sending books in that were signed, not witnessed, PSA is already poised to be able to enter that market and compete in that market. They do that now already. And then, you know, as you kind of spin this thing forward, do we see some of the other things that PSA has brought to the trading card space? You know, there's rumors of more integrations with eBay, grading things and having them sent straight to the eBay vault. Will that eventually trickle down to the comic book side of things? I have to imagine at some point in time it probably will. Nat Turner in an interview, I believe, even said all products that we grade at some point in time, they would like to be able to filter that same way. So imagine you buy the comic book or send the comic book in to get graded, it gets graded, and then you get to immediately vault it and list it on eBay and sell it without it having to ship back to you. So if it's a book, if it's a spec book that you're buying and looking to flip, that is a potential angle that they could offer that CGC just cannot do. PSA has their app, which is very, very good for submitting grade reveals, managing your accounts, and all that stuff. To me, that is a major leg up on CGC and what they do on that side. CGC always feels like a company limited by tech. I don't know what it is over there, but it always seems like tech seems to be getting in the way of things that they could potentially do, or they're very slow to adapt when it comes to that sort of thing. And in the one article that was up on Collect already, Elizabeth Gruen, the president of Pop Culture, touts, the anti-counterfeiting measures and that sort of thing in the slab. That is a direct assault on CGC and all the issues they had earlier this year. Say what you will, PSA labels have a ton of anti-counterfeiting tech in them. And also, at least on the sports card side, like I said, I haven't had one of these slabs in hand yet. The physical slab itself, a PSA slab, at least the modern ones, you can't crack those things open and reseal them. And I also assume that this uses or will use the new plastic that they're using in the sports card slabs, which are near impossible to break open to begin with. So cracking open a slab and resealing it, I don't think is going to be a thing. Absolutely wild times. This is going to be fascinating over the next couple of years to pay attention to and to cover and see where this all goes and see what PSA looks like when they're swinging as an underdog. They have been the market leader for a while now, or at least tied, even pre-pandemic. They were a little bit above Beckett, but that was more of a competition. Now we have them legit coming in as, we are not the top of the mountain. We are the new kid on the block. What does that look like? I think that is going to be an interesting journey to chronicle as well. So we'll be along for the ride. Probably going to do a live stream this weekend with some fellow comic book content creators. So look out for that. I think we're shooting for Sunday night. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. I'll try to get a thumbnail and a time posted for that earlier, but a bunch of us are going to get together and kind of talk about this new world that we are all living in. I'm sure more details to come. We will update as we see fit. Catch boys and girls on the next one. Peace.